What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Down Dog Athletics Podcast, a competitor's guide to mental health and mastery. My name is Paul Klingen, and I'm your host. Created Down Dog Athletics because I wanted to help men, I wanted to help athletes bridge the gap between yoga and the things that it provides, meditation, mental health, and really just kind of create a space to have these kind of conversations around what guys are going through, what athletes are going through, and allow them to kind of have permission to open up. And it's been amazing to already see the impact that this podcast has made, and I just really appreciate if you're listening and it's your vibe, subscribe, leave ratings, leave reviews, share it with people that you think would really benefit from the message, and we'll just keep this train moving. I want to make a quick shout out to our friends and sponsors at Live Better Co. I had Brett and Jason on episode 3, but they got a retreat coming up in El Salvador. It's start of November. I don't have the dates right off the top of my head, but it's an amazing time. I did it last year, and it's a mixture of yoga, surfing, working out on the beach, doing sprints, hanging out with amazing people, reading in hammocks, and you do workshops. And it's all centered around how you can structure your life to really live better, as the name of the company is. And after the 6 days, man, the world was changed. Made friends that I'm still in contact with today, and I can't recommend it anymore. And so if you use Down Dog Athletics or just Down Dog as you apply, you'll get $200 off, which is a good chunk of change. So just head over to livebetterco.org or reach out to Brett and Jason via social media. Those guys will be more than happy to help you out. And today's episode is a solo episode, no interviews, and it's kind of a special day for me because 12 months ago, a year ago, I left my job at Amazon and completely dove in headfirst into the health and fitness space, completely dove into entrepreneurship, and I had no idea what the next year had in store for me. And one of my favorite quotes is, people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. And this is a quote I heard from Brett, actually, the Live Better Co guys that I'm talking about. He's been in the health and wellness space for 4 years, so he's a little bit further along than me, but he made that same jump. And at the time we were having coffee, and he was convincing me to quit my job at Amazon and just go all in. He's like, dude, you just got to send it. And a couple months after our conversation, I did. And I personal trained and taught yoga full time. My degree was in advertising, as was all of my experience. I spent 5 years working at ad agencies. I spent a 3-year stint at Wieden & Kennedy, which if you're in the advertising or marketing space, you know that is a place that people would literally do anything to get at. And I was fortunate enough to get an opportunity there. And then after there, I went and did a year and a half at Amazon, which again is a place that people would spend their entire career trying to get to a place like that. And I'm so grateful that I did, because there's so many lessons that I learned. But I remember a year ago taking a picture of the money that I was leaving on the table in the form of stocks that hadn't vested yet. If you're familiar with Amazon, they keep you around with hundreds of thousands of dollars. If I'm sure people have millions of dollars locked away in RSUs, or restricted stock units. And I took a picture of it. I was like, I'm giving this up. And it's because my conviction was stronger than the cash. And so I made that leap. And a year ago is a long time, but it's also incredibly short. And I'm really proud of what I've done in the past year. You're listening to this podcast. I started that, became a Lululemon ambassador, became a Barry's Bootcamp founding instructor in Seattle as we opened a location down in South Lake Union. I met a girl, Haley. You better be listening. What's up, babe? And I've coached over 50 people in person and taught hundreds, maybe even thousands more in yoga classes, Barry's classes, events. Did an event in Seahawks Stadium, done events in apartments, just all these different things that are not meetings in boardrooms at 2:30. I've read almost 20 books, which is a change that I wanted to make but also had to make. If you're going to do this complete career change, you better study up, you better learn. And so that's one thing I've made a really big priority in my life. And the list goes on. I'm sure there's impact that I've made and people that I've touched, and they haven't even mentioned or reached out to me, and so I don't even realize what other things I've accomplished. And what's even crazier is I know how much I've left on the table. I have so much more in me that I've been afraid to either let out, or I'm just not as efficient as I will become. I like to say I'm level 1 now. I've completed 1 year. People have been on this journey 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And so it's been super rewarding. But I want to share I'm sharing 12 things that I've learned since quitting my job at Amazon a year ago. And 12 is way too short, but it's 12 months and felt like it had a nice ring to it. So I'm going to go right into it. And the first one which I think is a lesson that I probably should have learned before, but always do the right thing. One of my core values that I found in my business is integrity, and it's still one of the hardest things to do. People wrong you, or you have opportunities to cut corners, and it'll go unnoticed. People won't notice that you're cutting those corners. And when people wrong you, I've realized it's really a reflection on them, not me. If I retaliate, it actually causes me to hold on to that negative energy that will actually end up bringing me down even more. And so when I can cut corners, I just got to remember how I do one thing is how I do everything. Integrity is doing the right thing when no one is looking. So you never know when you're going to have the opportunity down the road to do something that opens up more doors because you did the right thing. And I've had opportunities come my way because of bridges I didn't burn. I've had people just completely ghost me when we were training, and I didn't burn it, and they ended up referring me to someone else. And yeah, there's also going to be times when you do need to burn bridges because it's the healthy thing for you to do in order to continue to go on and have a good headspace. The next one is macro versus micro. I try and zoom out more often than I zoom in. Day-to-day stuff can suck. Taxes suck. Writing emails sucks. Waking up at 5 a.m., that's not fun. But the more I zoom out, I realize just how blessed and fortunate I am to do what I love doing. Still have food, shelter, friends, family, my own health. I've traveled a ton, and that's something that, I've always made a priority. But when you go out and kind of cut that safety net, I could have been scraping by eating off of top ramen. And I've been fortunate enough to really have a quality of life and a passion and something that I've loved doing. And so you zoom out and you're like, wow, in a general direction, I'm going in 100% the direction that I want to go. Versus when you're in that micro, you're in that day-to-day, you're not able to see that growth. And you can't see how good things really are, maybe because you're hyper-focused on that one little problem that 3 months from now isn't going to matter. And I was listening to a podcast with Mark Ronson and Aubrey Marcus, and they were talking about things on a cosmic scale, so like space and the universe, which is like, whoa, that's huge. And they were like, how big of a problem are the problems that you have? And I was like, it's a really good point. Probably not that big, considering I'm just a little speck on a little planet. Number 3 is coaching, and it's been the best investment that I've made. I've come to learn that no one is self-made. No one builds an entire company or vision all by themselves. I know for me, it took a huge support system to keep going and to make the shift that I made. I don't think I truly appreciated how much of a 180 I was making. And before I quit at Amazon, and to this day, I've had several coaches, several mentors, and they keep me accountable. They're further along the journey than I am, and they show me that the goal that I have is achievable, since they're literally living proof of the possibility. So I can't say, oh, I can't get there or I won't get there. There's someone who 2 years ago was in my shoes, and now they're further along, and they're saying, hey, here's how I got to where you want to get. Apply these. I'll keep you accountable. And so it's amazing just how much they've accelerated my development because I can learn their systems. They help me avoid obstacles. Like I said, I'm able to learn from the mistakes that they've made, and then also learn the things that they did well that help them get to where they are. They give me perspective. There's so many times when I have stories in my head and I'll tell them, I can't do this because of X. And then they're just there to keep me accountable and call me out really and just be like, dude, that's actually not the truth. And what they end up doing is taking that lie, flipping it back around, putting the truth in you, and it really instills belief in you and me to keep doing what I need to do and to just keep working. The next one is passion is suffering. This one is really cool, and I heard this on a podcast, but the root word of passion is actually derived from suffering. If you go back hundreds of years into the Latin and the Greek, and it's super interesting because when you are truly passionate about something, and I know this from experience, you will endure pain, scrutiny, sleep deprivation in order to achieve it. I like to use the example, the Passion of the Christ. Jesus was not psyched about having nails in his wrist and his feet and being hung on a cross. Can't imagine that anyone is. But he was willing to suffer, passion, for something bigger. So when you're looking for a passion, ask yourself, what are you willing to suffer for? What has caused you pain? What have you endured that you were willing to suffer for so that others don't need to suffer the same way that you did? And this was actually advice that I got at Amazon. So again, lessons learned from a career that I've changed directions from. But I'd have a manager, and I was like, I don't know what projects to work on. And he's like, well, rather than try and create a project that's fun, why don't you find projects that find a problem that drives you absolutely insane? And you're like, I'm going to fix this. And there's that passion to get that problem fixed that if other people have that problem, you're like, man, I don't want someone else to deal with this same problem. So I'm going to make that the project that I work on. And that's where I kind of combined the lesson I learned from that podcast, but then also the lesson I learned at Amazon to be like, wow, something that I'm passionate about is really something that has caused me pain and suffering. I don't want others to deal with that. So I'm going to work towards that. The next one is that anxiety is real. And this probably applies to mental health as a whole and mental illness. But I didn't think that anxiety was real until I found myself unable to breathe on all fours with a heart rate that felt like it was 2,000 beats per minute. I was sweating, throat was constricted, and I was stressed out about clients and money and stuff that I'd never had to learn to manage or handle. It was all stuff that was brand new to me, and luckily I was with my girlfriend at the time, and she's really supportive, and she was able to kind of help me come back down into a better breathing, better mindset. And I'm so grateful to have someone that values mental health and supports my passion to help others prioritize it, because I think what it showed me is I now had a firsthand experience of something that I was passionate about, helping other people manage or talk about, because before then I thought it was just someone who was mentally weak. Panic attacks, depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts. I didn't realize what I know now to be true. I thought it was just someone that had, I don't know, bad thoughts in their head. Like whatever stigma you have about it is just that. It's a stigma, and it's stuff that people go through, and it's not something that they can control. Same way that someone has cancer. They don't choose that cancer. It affects the body physically. Well, mental health affects people's minds, and I think we all need to be supportive with that. And having gone through that, again, I now have a firsthand experience, and I'm able to empathize with people when they go through something that's probably way more traumatic than just having to deal with clients and money. But it at least helps me shift my perspective a little bit and shift my paradigm so that I can see things through the lens that they're seeing things through. The next one is that opportunity is everywhere. And I like to think about all the problems that I have or that you have that you would love to be fixed. And there's thousands. How many problems could, if someone were to get rid of today, you'd be like, wow, that's worth a lot of money. And good products and services help people bridge that gap. In the health and wellness space, I like to believe, and I know that there's millions of people that have thousands of problems just with their mental and physical health. Obesity sky high. Even just overweight and people that don't move well, or people that want better aesthetics or want to lower their blood pressure. That exists. It's rampant in Seattle and the U.S. and really the world. You look at people with desk jobs or even phone-related injuries and discomforts that are continuing to accelerate because 10 years ago, we invented the cell phone, and we have no idea what that's going to do to our minds from a mental health standpoint. We have no idea what that's doing to our posture. When you look at human anatomy, it did not take into account having a little rectangle that you hinge your neck down, round your shoulders, and flex your spine for. So there's so many problems that are going to start coming as people have 10, 20, 30, 40 years of social media or desk jobs. And so that's going to create even more gaps for health and wellness to fill. I mean, mental health is becoming more and more of a problem with social media. And so, again, just looking through the lens of all these opportunities to help people. And I can walk by someone on the street, and I know without a doubt, me, myself, and really everyone on the planet could benefit from having better mental and physical health. When you believe that opportunity is everywhere, you start to train your mind to look for opportunity. A really cool example of this is for 2 months I journaled and meditated. There's an abundance of opportunity. And I just repeated it. And it turned my month around to the point that Barry's Bootcamp reaches out, and that's exactly a month after I started journaling. And they're like, hey, we'd love for you to come and potentially become an instructor. And man, I'd never done group fitness before. And here's an opportunity coming because I'm training my mind to look for it, the abundance of opportunity. And so that one phrase gave me a ton of perspective on just how many people there are to help. The next one is entrepreneurship requires more structure. And I'll be honest, when I quit Amazon, it was in the summer, right after I got back from Europe. I thought I was going to have more free time. I thought being my own boss was going to let me work when and how I wanted. Obviously, that's wrong. So wrong. I work more hours than I did at Amazon. I work more days during the week. My mind never turns off. And that's not a sense of bragging. I think, if anything, it's exciting for me because I don't even count how many hours I work, and it doesn't even feel like work. Yes, there are times when I'm exhausted, but you definitely don't like your job if you are counting the amount of hours that you work. That's like counting the amount of hours you spend with your boyfriend or girlfriend. I'd never be like, man, I spent 23 hours with Haley. Really need to dial that back. It's like, time doesn't even count when you're doing stuff that you love. But anyway, got a little off track, but time blocking has been one of the most important things that I can do with my day. Time blocking is exactly what you do when you say you're going to be at work from 9 to 5. You block time where you're at work. You don't take fancy vacations or weekend getaways during the week because that time's blocked for work. And so you just make sure that every hour is accounted for with specific tasks that you're going to work on. And when you don't have structure around your time, you end up wasting it. Kind of the same as money. If that money isn't going to something specifically, it's going to find its way out your wallet. And one of my favorite quotes is, if you want to meet the devil, have a white space on your calendar. And man, that is so true. When I'm not being productive, I get anxiety. When I don't have time blocked, I waste time, I get behind, then I get anxiety. And this includes free time as well. Creating structure around my free time and self-care ensures that it actually gets done. And if I have a fun event, put it on your calendar. This is time blocked. I'm not going to work during this time because this is time for myself, for my friends, for my family. The next one is super powerful. You are the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with. And when I work on my own, I don't have coworkers to bring my game up or bring me down. I don't have managers that are elevating me or coworkers that talk negative to bring my day down. So I have to be super specific, and everyone does. Everyone in every avenue of their life has to be super specific with who they choose to spend time with, because they're either going to facilitate your growth or accelerate your decline. And here's an analogy that I love that best explains this. Pretend you are a thermostat set at 85 degrees. The sum of the 5 people you hang around are 75 degrees. They're going to cool you down so that your thermostat's 75 degrees. Now, if the sum of the 5 people that you hang around are at 95 degrees, they're going to heat you up. And so if you look at this on an extreme level, wherever you are, say you hang around Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, I know he's dead, but just pretend he's alive, Michael Jordan, and Mark Cuban. If you are broke and you hang around those 5 guys all the time, you're not going to be broke for very long. On the other side, you run a multi-million-dollar company and you hang out with Steve, Joe, Sally, Susie, and Alfred, and they all do methamphetamine. That business is not going to be very successful for very long. And so another example of this is fitness. Maybe you break your leg and your fitness was a 95. You're killing it, but that injury brings it down to a 65. Not anything you can control, but all your best friends, all the people you surround yourself with, your community, gym, as soon as you get healthy, heat yourself back up to 95. Maybe you start making really good choices and run into some good fortune, and your temperature jumps from 75 to 95. But if your environment is set below the growth that you've achieved, it will help you sabotage your growth and bring you back down to that environment that it's set at. So if you have goals, and you should, you need to assess your environment. Your friends, family, workspace, home, even social media, they all play a role in your trajectory. Once you assess your environment, then you have to be super critical. And you have to step away from those people that are bringing you down, those environments that are bringing you down. You got to double down on the people that are lifting you up, and then constantly be seeking to meet new people that might potentially heat your thermostat up. I'll keep this next one short. Taxes suck. I think we all know this, but if you're making your leap as a first-year business owner, don't do what I did. Make sure that you have your accountant set up and make sure that you have money aside or set aside for Uncle Sam. The last thing I'll just say is a dollar is not a dollar. If you make 100 grand, you did not make 100 grand. Next one's super important, and it's one that I'm still trying to get better at, but it's been incredible to see the growth when it happens, and that is create, create, create. Anyone who's an artist is really going to relate to this one, but you have to create and produce and time block on your calendar to ensure that you spend time each day creating things that generate business, generate followers, generate momentum. Even as an athlete, you have to constantly be shooting, throwing, hitting, kicking. Tom Brady throws the ball every single day. Russell Wilson throwing routes every single day. Cristiano Ronaldo, guys firing off free kicks every single day. I could go on for hours. Baseball players, they're in the cage every single day. So the more often you can do things, the better you get at them. It's a wild concept. For me, creating is just the most applicable because I have to create blogs, podcasts, social media content, update my website, create yoga flows, workouts. I'm always creating. And this quote has really helped me when I get stuck in worrying about perfection. And it's an Andy Warhol quote. Don't think about making art. Just get it done. Let everyone else decide if it's good or bad, whether they love it or hate it, while they are deciding, make even more art. And this brings me back to a book that I read, The Originals, that it was talking about people that have incredible masterpieces. Like you look at someone like Shakespeare or Beethoven or Picasso, and they're known for incredible pieces, but we don't really pay attention to the hundreds of times that they weren't successful. And that's what it takes to create something that is truly remarkable, is just make 100. 2 of them are going to take off, and you don't know which ones because it's subjective, and the people that follow you or fans, they're going to decide which one take off. Anyone that's ever produced music, you might have a song you pour your heart and soul into. 5 people like it. And then you make one that's just like a little 5-minute jing, and then it takes off. And you look at artists today on Spotify, and the more songs that they have, the more opportunities for people to listen, the more money they make, the more opportunities for collaboration. If I'm trying to think of an artist that's not going to be obscure because I listen to a ton of EDM. If Nicki Minaj makes 2 songs a year and she's just worried about making the perfect song, that's so much missed opportunity. I can't believe my mind went to Nicki Minaj, but there you have it. Just create. The next one is, the lone wolf travels fast, but the pack travels far. Someone said that this was an African proverb. I don't know where it was from, but I heard it and I loved it. I've touched on this kind of throughout the list, but I want to really hammer this one home. You can get off to a quick start on your own. You can lose 30 pounds just putting your head down, going to the gym. You can start a blog or podcast. You can hike really far up a mountain. But there comes a time when you need the support of others to keep going. I've been lucky to have the support of so many people, family, friends, girlfriend, Lululemon, berries, social media followers, coaches, and so on. When I started studying to become a personal trainer, I did kind of go fast by myself. I closed myself off from a lot of people, and it helped me build some momentum, and I was going fast at that time. But I wouldn't have gotten far without support. And I know 10 years from now, I'll say the same thing. I went fast in year 1, but I needed so many others to get there in year 10. The last one, and I just want to say these aren't like in order of importance. It was just stream of consciousness as I wrote the blog, and then I'm recording off the blog. But we are all salespeople. And you might be saying in your head right now, like, I'm not in sales. And I would debate you, because you telling me that you're not in sales is selling. So we all sell. We sell our ideas when we present at work. We sell our ideas, or we sell ourselves when we get dressed in a way that conveys to the world the image that we wish to display. We sell ourselves when we're dating. We say we should go to this restaurant, and the person that's the most convicted is going to be the one that convinces the other person to go to the other restaurant. The big one is social media. Your social media is your personal online business card. Even if you don't want to share a lot on it, for me, that tells me something about you, in that you're a private person. And in a way could say maybe you're not confident sharing things that might be scary, or that you're afraid of showing something else off that people might think is dumb. And so if there's one area that I've really dove into the most, it's been sales and human psychology. How does the mind work? What influences the mind? What influences people? How am I being sold? I think it's really important to be aware of what's happening to you as much as how you're impacting other people. And so just studying selling, how it happens so that you're aware of the dynamics as it's happening. One last thing on selling, and it's something that I'm still learning, is that selling a service or a product that helps people is in no means bad. We have the idea that sales is bad because we think of the sleazy car salesman. But in reality, it's your duty to sell. If you have the antidote to cancer and you are selling people to buy it and it'll save their lives and they don't buy it because you're not good at sales, that's on you. You need to learn to sell more so that you can help more people. And again, it's something I'm working on. But in the health and wellness space, it's important to sell because what you are selling is literally a longer and healthier life. So there you have it, 12 lessons I've learned in the last 12 months. I find it kind of ironic that the ambulance is going on in the background as I'm telling people about living longer and healthier lives. Someday I'll have a studio and it'll be fantastic, but right now, just create. Thank you so much for listening. This was definitely a vulnerable one for me, but I also know that through that transparency, it's going to help someone. And again, at the end of the day, if I just help one person with this podcast, then this podcast was worth it. If you did get some value out of this podcast, I'd love it if you could share. If this is your vibe, subscribe. Reviews and ratings, always love those. And you can head over to Down Dog Athletics if you want to read the blog, if you want to read other blogs, and if you want to reach out, I'd love to connect with you. You can fill out my coaching application if you're interested in coaching. I do that online and in person. You can also just DM me. Shoot me a message. Any question you have, more than happy to help answer it for you. You can also email me, paul@downdogathletics.com. Thank you guys again so much for listening. Thank you our sponsors, Live Better Co. And without further ado, let you guys have a great rest of your day. Take it easy. See you next time on the Down Dog Athletics Podcast.